Hope this video find you well, and today I want to make certain comments and based on the national dialogue which is going on in Bomas of Kenya. I am Rukwaro, an author and a sociologist, and I feel that there are some certain things, certain observations which I need to bring it out, which should be a food for thought even for Kenyans. In 2019, I wrote a book called The Broken Promise, which traces the Kenyan journey from 1963 up to date. The book highlights the happenings and the dynamics and the intricacies which politicians in Kenya have played over time over the electorates. As I have pinpointed in that book, the politicians' main objective, whatever their action is based on self-interest and even self-preservation. Many times, their actions are not based on the good of the majority and the people who vote for them. And I have pinpointed in that book that you can be sure when the politician is talking, you can be sure there are only two things which you can be confident the politicians are not lying to you. It doesn't matter their orientation or their philosophy of life. You can be sure the politician is telling you the truth if they tell you the sky is blue. You can be sure that they are telling you the truth. Secondly, you can be sure the politician is telling you the truth if they tell you the Pope is a Catholic. You can bank on that. Now today, I want to discuss briefly on the issue of opposition party and having opposition in the country. One of the great blunders, much as we have got a good constitution 2010, a very nice constitution, because it had great participation and we had borrowed so much from great democracies in the world. One of the omissions is the issue of opposition was not given proper treatment. Opposition in a country is very important, and if a country doesn't have strong opposition, it is a panacea for disaster. Why? What is the importance of opposition? Opposition party plays the role of a government in waiting. If the government collapses, the opposition party is supposed to take over. And you see, one of the main rules of the opposition is to keep the government on check. It has to keep the government on check in matters of transparency, in matters of accountability, and in matters of making sure the government follows the accepted standards which it has already told the electorate in their manifesto they are going to follow. So what am I saying? The opposition party, they should be having a shadow cabinet. Opposition party should be ideally the second party which had the highest votes during elections, second to the ruling party. So now, it's a shadow that they should be having shadow cabinet. What do I mean by shadow cabinet? I mean shadow cabinet if there are CSs in the ruling party, there should also be the equivalent shadow cabinet secretaries in the opposition party. If there is CS education, there should be a CS education as a shadow cabinet secretary. Why is this important? How will you keep the government on its toes? How are you going to check it? How are you going to have alternative policies if you don't have shadow cabinet secretaries? You should have shadow cabinet secretaries so that they will keep the government on its toes, and so that they also have policies which they can also sell to the Kenyan population. And so what does this mean? That means the shadow cabinet and the leader of the opposition should be funded from Exchequer. This is because the role the opposition leader is playing is a very, very important role, and that is why I'm saying this is something which should be in the constitution, so that it justifies the funding of the opposition leader. So it should not be something which the government should look at it as a goodwill or as something which you feel you are doing a favor to the opposition party, but this is something which the Kenyans should accept. It should be part and parcel of our developing democracies, which should be embraced by every Kenyan and even the government. So the issue of opposition party, opposition leader, and having shadow cabinet secretaries, it is something we should be given serious thought, and not just serious thought, but it should be in our constitution for posterity, so that Kenyans should not be left at the whim of the ruling party elites. So it is very important. What I'm pinpointing the great disaster which can also happen in a country is to have a government getting into a handshake with the opposition. It will be a disaster to the Kenyan population. It will be a sad day for Kenyans. We know what the handshake did when it happened. When the handshake was done, it may put the Kenyans in a very great predicament, because now the government did not have a watchdog. They could do anything, and then there was nobody to criticize them, because the opposition had decided to have political relationship with the ruling party, and that one will be a disaster. And it is my wish, and I hope, even the dream for all Kenyans, that you don't ever have a repeat of a government getting to bed with the opposition. Because if they do that, the Kenyan, especially the majority, the poor Kenyans who are suffering, they will not have a voice, because now at the present, even the civil organizations which used to be strong, they are no longer that strong. The religious leaders, which need to have high level of integrity and to maintain neutrality, many of them have been compromised, and you find them having a relationship with the government. In such a way, they cannot pinpoint even when the government is wrong. Where are the Kenyans going to go? We have to have a strong opposition, and this is opposition should be having very clear defined policies, clear manifestos, and not criticizing the government for the sake of it. If the government has done something good, let them have credit. If they have done something wrong, let them be criticized, but then criticizing with giving an alternative approach, not just criticizing for the sake of it. I am hoping that the Kenyans are going to give thought to the issue of strengthening the opposition party so that we don't have a situation where the government is ever going to have an handshake. It doesn't matter. We should not try to buy peace by an handshake. We will be doing great disaster even for the generation to come. Otherwise, thank you very much. I hope you are going to think seriously about that. I've given that one a political sociologist view, another's view, but you can read more in my book, The Broken Promise, which I took 10 years to write and to really look Kenya through the eyes of a sociologist. Thank you very much.